Kyle Klingman with Trackwrestling going to Lebanon, Illinois. Cam Guerin is starting her freshman season after being a 4-time state champion in Washington, but a unique path, went to the Elite Accelerator program for 2 years in Colorado Springs. Great to have you on, Cam.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Let's go to your dad. He passed away in 2019, October 10th. Rich was your dad. Big influence in your life. What did he mean to you? What kind of influence does he still have on you today?
Oh man, ever since I was like a little baby, like 5 years old, he's had the biggest impact on my life. He was my first coach. I trained under him. He had an MMA gym where I lived in Yakima, Washington. So I was training from him from the age of 5 to 18 before I moved out. So he has been the biggest impact on my life, being my dad and my coach. So he's everything to me.
What kind of support system, what kind of coach dad was he that you can apply for later that's the right way to do it?
Oh man, he was like the best I could possibly scenario as a coach dad I can think of, because there's so many times that I've like seen over like my life that there's been like coaches and dads that like are super pushy and they just make their kid do like things that maybe they don't want to do, or cut weight and stuff like that. So he was the best coach to me, because he would want me to train and push me to be my best, but never forced me to do anything I wasn't comfortable doing. And he was so motivational. Competing and stuff like that with jiu-jitsu and wrestling, he was the best. He was always so calm, which how he was. So he was like that as a coach and a dad. So he was awesome.
So he wasn't yelling a lot from the corner?
Oh no, I mean he would, when he was coaching, he'd be yelling, but not like crazy. He would just be commanding and stuff like that. He was super relaxed, super composed. He was awesome.
How did you decide to go to the Elite Accelerator program? Why did you decide that path was best for you?
Oh, my senior year was a crazy year for like decisions with colleges, and I went on a lot of visits for colleges and stuff like that. And then I also went on it wasn't superficial, but it was a visit to the training center, because the coaches reached out to me. They obviously knew of me because I was on like junior world teams and the cadet teams and been to camps and stuff like that. So they wanted to see if I could be in their program, and I was super interested, obviously, because the best trained there. And at first I was skeptical because I heard certain people don't like it, just how they are personally with the environment. But making that decision, I absolutely loved it. I felt like I really grew there, and being around a lot of mature older wrestlers was cool, because I just got to see how they acted, how they were off and on the mat. So I don't regret going there at all after high school. So that was a great experience for me.
And then what was the experience like?
Oh, it was awesome. Traveling, doing camps and stuff like that with, the senior team and even the younger girls. That was amazing. I'm still going to be able to do that for sure. But obviously being at the training center, everyone would kind of like discuss where everyone was going. And there was usually every few months we'd be going to camps, or there was camps there. So for me, I loved it. Obviously the traveling's amazing. So, and the training's the best. So I felt like that was the best spot for me at the time.
And then you went back-to-back years. You must have liked it enough to stay another year. What went into the decision to stay another year?
What was that?
What went into the decision to stay another year?
Just the first year. I mean, right off the bat, obviously the training is amazing, and I wanted to hold off my education for one more year just to see and kind of, go further into my wrestling career. I think that the 2 years was a good enough time for me. I think 1 year would have been a little not enough time, because I was still not sure on what I wanted to do with my education. So even just being there for 2 years was amazing. For my wrestling career.
you lose motivation to want to go to college, you're going to go to McKendree, which is the reigning NCAA champion right now. Does there ever come a point where you say, I might want to just stick around and do this full time?
Are you talking about education or for wrestling or for both? Or
maybe after 2 years you decide I just want to stay wrestling full time and I'll forego college, maybe do that later and not go the wrestling route for college.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for the past, 2 years that I was at the training center. I was like, how am I feeling, with my education? Because I obviously wanted to pursue it. But, at the time I was just focusing on my wrestling specifically. So in those 2 years, the only thing I would say I was lacking would be I was just missing something else. Like I'd be always training, always practicing, but then I think I needed that extra outlet because they have online schooling that I could have done as well, and I elected not to just to see how it would be. So I was kind of skeptical at first to come to college because I hadn't been in school for 2 years. So at first I was like, oh, how am I going to adjust? How is it going to be? But coming here right away, like I know I wanted to pursue my education and, go have an I guess a parallel path with my wrestling career. So the transition so far has been amazing. I love it and I love school. So yeah, it's been great so far.
And I'm assuming you knew a lot of the girls coming in from the program. What's that been like, just being able to mesh with the girls that are already there on the team?
Oh, it's been awesome so far. Obviously with the coronavirus and stuff like that, it's harder to, we don't have any scheduled practices as of now, but I've been able to see some people here and there. And so, yeah, knowing a lot of girls on the wrestling team has been, one, it's obviously comfortable, but two, I know that there's a lot of girls at my level that have the same goals. So, so far I'm really liking, everybody here and everybody I've already known. So.
What do you think about Sam Schmitz? Intense guy.
Oh man, so far I haven't, he's a great coach so far with what he's done with me the past couple of weeks I've been here. Just even talking or, like not necessarily like in-person wrestling, but like even other stuff. He's been awesome. He's funny, great coach. So far I love his energy.
What does that do for you when you get to travel internationally and then you get to come back and just compete in a college season? I have to assume that gives you a ton of confidence.
It does. It's going to be interesting because I know there's definitely a lot of competition overseas, but there is another type of competition here in like the college level. So I'm excited to see how I am going to do with everybody that maybe I haven't wrestled before or maybe I have. I'm excited for it for sure because I know I'm going to be doing the college stuff and then also the international stuff as well. So it'll be fun.
Washington is really ahead of its time on women's wrestling and the growth of women's wrestling. What was it like to be part of that time and to know that they embrace women's wrestling so much?
Seeing it now, like, I guess I didn't realize how there's so many other states, women that haven't been sanctioned for high school even. So growing up, honestly, like, has been a blessing because I've been, well, I take that back. For when I was like 5 years old to like 11, I would wrestle boys strictly with, little guy and USA Wrestling and stuff like that. But high school, when I got to high school, it was like, wow, there's a lot of other girls that wrestle too. So that's been amazing to be a part of. There's still lots of states that haven't been sanctioned, so it makes me feel grateful that Washington has been so involved with women's wrestling.
So when you're competing for Washington, you're just not aware that other states don't have the same type of support that Washington does?
Well, at first I was like, when I was not as educated as I am now, I didn't realize that not every state was sanctioned, which is crazy. I don't know why I didn't know that at first when I was like 13, 14. Obviously now I know. So it's makes me for sure like, yeah, I'm blessed because there's some girls that don't have the opportunity to, compete with other girls or other women. So, yeah.
How was your team as far as just building that team bond in Washington for the girls team? Did you feel like that you had girls that wanted to come out and be part of it?
Yeah, at first there was only I think it was my freshman year, there was only like 2 girls on the team. So it was nice because they didn't separate the girls too much from the men, or the women and the men. Everybody was, had a great bond all together. The coaches and the men and the women, they weren't like, oh, let's push the women aside and, focus on the guys or the varsity. So I feel like there's a lot of situations that I've heard with girls saying, oh, they just push us to the side. We're sanctioned, but the coaches don't really care about us. They focus on the guys. For me, my experience was great because everybody was, a team, and everybody was on the same page, and they didn't treat any of us differently.
When you think about your training up to this point, what percentage would you say that you trained against guys or trained against girls? Like what's been the mix so far?
So for my high school career, I would mainly drill with like the guys, and I would wrestle live with the guys or my coaches or stuff like that. That was for high school. And then obviously towards the end of my high school career, going into like junior worlds and cadets, stuff like that, that was a cool transition because before I was just not opened up to how many girls there were like in the country that were like at my level as well. So I remember going to like my first camp, I was like, I don't know, maybe 14 or 15. It was somewhere, there was a cadet camp, and I remember calling my mom, was like, Mom, there's so many other girls like in the country. It's so cool like to see like them at this level like me as well. So that transition was cool. And then obviously these past few years has been awesome because wrestling like some of the top women in the world and the country has been amazing. It's just so cool to see how good women are actually like in wrestling. It's amazing because it's definitely not just the men. There's a lot of talent in the world of wrestling for women.
Do you feel like training with the guys helps your development?
Yeah, when I was younger, I for sure thought I know it did because obviously technically guys are stronger and sometimes they're faster, but I mean, that's not the case all the time, but usually I feel like that really pushed me and helped me kind of as a wrestler and with my style and stuff like that. Even with folk style, wrestling folk styles helped my freestyle because of just how maybe some of the guys scrambled or moved and stuff like that. So I feel like they really did help me develop as a wrestler too, today.
What kind of recognition did you get for being a 4-time undefeated state champion against the girls? Did you like that and the attention that you got from having that great career in wrestling?
I'm not I'm very shy and I'm pretty humble, I feel like, as a person. So, we'd have, I think it was like a valley conference, and we could get awards and stuff like that for like the people around our valley. And then also, in the state, I have awards from that as well. But then my high school has like 2,500 kids. So back then they, would put on, I guess they would put, gosh, I can't think of the word. Assemblies. Oh my gosh, sorry. And they, would put me in the middle and they'd be announcing stuff like that, my accomplishments. And I was just so humble. I'd be like, thank you. And they also put like a banner up and stuff like that at my high school. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty humble with that kind of stuff.
How do you deal with that, being shy? Because that's something you have internally, just how you are. Maybe if you're introverted, how do you overcome that, having to step out on a mat by yourself and deal with praise that people want to heap on you?
Yeah, for me, like as a person, I am shy. And so obviously like wrestling for as long as I have, I've been just so used to just using my physical ability and just going out there, and I don't feel nervous at all. Or well, everybody feels nervous, but for the most part I feel like most comfortable when I'm wrestling. So it's when I'm wrestling, it's where I love to be. And then after a match or after if I win something, if I have interviews and stuff like that, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm getting nervous and I don't like the attention, but I'm like, that's a part of it, and that's, a blessing to have, so I don't know, I just go with it, and I'm trying to learn as I grow.
Did you feel more comfortable with it as you got along?
Yeah, for sure. High school and then even to now, I'm still working on it, but yeah, I feel more comfortable for sure with all that stuff. And I know one day when, um, my goals being a Olympian and a world team member, I know that's, stuff's gonna grow and a lot more people are gonna try to be on me. And because I've already seen how a lot of the world team members and Olympians are, a lot of people are for sure, they want to talk to them, which isn't bad, but I just know that's gonna be something that comes with the sport.
How about at McKendree right now? Do people recognize the women's wrestling program?
Um, right now, I haven't really noticed too much. I know, the wrestling program is like one of the best programs here for the sports. So, um, it's been hard because we haven't had, too much interaction with like, I don't know, other teams and stuff like that, or maybe in the weight room. Um, so far, I'm not too exactly sure, but what I've heard that, they do recognize, the wrestlers because they're obviously good here. So I'm excited to see how it is and when we have a season and if we have a season.
Did you get back to Washington much this year?
During when everything went down with the pandemic, I went home in March because they sent everybody home from the training center. So I was home there for I think like 3 months or something like that. So that was pretty awesome to be home for that long.
Who'd you work with the most at the OTC when you were there?
There was a lot of, the top one, Jakara Winchester. I, wrestled her and drove with her a lot, and then Sarah Hildebrandt, Amy, Amy Frendside was definitely one of them, and then some like one of the younger girls, TRA, and then, obviously the coaches, Coach Chun would help a lot, so they're pretty, yeah, definitely a great team and great coaches for sure. They made me feel comfortable right away.